Good morning. It's September 12th, 2018. All three county commissioners are here. I ask that we rise for a moment of silent meditation and pledge to the flag, but also a little bit longer for 9/11 and also for a good friend of ours who taught at Brookhaven Elementary and was killed in a freak accident. Thank you very much. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Consents and approvals.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We
Morning.
have 21 exonerations for $10,103.61. One request to create a statement for $1,700.34. Vouchers for General County Fund, $99,904.75. 911, $3,270.40. Chestnut Ridge Park, $3,190.28. Camp Muffley, $8,118.99. Mason-Dixon Park, $3,590.74. Assessor's valuation, $1,482.84. The Morgantown Industrial TIF, $767,956.98. Purchasing card vouchers, General County Fund, $21,096.78. Magistrate Court, $43.05. 911, $60,835.32. Chestnut Ridge Park, $504.40. Camp Muffley, $7,465.84. Mason-Dixon Park, $575.58. Assessor's valuation, $626.50 for a voucher total of $978,662.45. We have position vacancies for boards and authorities: the Western Board of Zoning Appeals, Planning Commission, River Road PSD, Mon County Development Authority, the Building Commission, Camp Muffley Advisory Board, and Mason-Dixon Historical Park Advisory Board. Fiduciary orders for September the 12th, 2018. Statement of services for Lynn Crane and George Armistead, Fiduciary Commissioners.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper moves in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have introduction of some new employees. Let's go with the Sheriff. Palmer. Perry. Good morning.
Good morning.
I got you. I'm sure you're probably glad you're not in North Carolina right now.
Prayers go out to the,
Yes.
for sure. This morning we are introducing Timothy Long. He will be starting on the 16th of September as a full-time process transport with full benefits, starting salary of $2,557.20 per month.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper moves in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
We also have another. MJ, come on. How are you doing today?
So I want to introduce Noel Malizia. She is actually a WVU student right now and is in class, so she was unable to make this attendance. But she's going to be part-time. She wants to be a therapist, so she'll also be training under me for her clinical social work degree. So where else is a great start besides Mon County Youth Services Center, and it is in our budget, and she's starting date is next Wednesday, I believe, the 19th.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Proper moves in second. All those in favor say aye.
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 And we will be coming to your board meeting next Tuesday.
Yes, thank you.
Several of us. Yes, thank you. Okay. Are there any others? At this time, I'll open comments for the public. Is there anyone who would like to be the public and come forward? We're going to do that. Yeah, we have a special time for you there, but I appreciate that. Okay, seeing no one wanting to come for a specific public, we now have grants. Ms. Colleen Kuhn, come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 3 requests for reimbursements. The first one is the VOCA grant in the amount of $6,543.96. The next one is the JJDP, the DMC grant in the amount of $5,765.98. And the last one is another JJDP grant. This is Voices 2, and it's in the amount of $2,230.51.
Do I have a motion?
Move for approval?
Second.
Been properly moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll hold off on writing that a second because I think the next thing's a little more important. Proclamation for Constitution Week. Feel free, if all of you want to come up or one.
Yes.
Good. And if you could state your name and your address first for all four, then we will go through the proclamation.
Rebecca Davis, Chapter Regent, Colonel Zachary Morgan Chapter. You want my address?
Yes, please.
1910 Lozelle Union Road, Maysville, West Virginia.
Okay.
Okay. Jessica Davis, Colonel Zachary Morgan, Chapter Treasurer, 601 Kensington Place, North Carolina, Asheville, 26501. 28803. Sorry.
Yeah, with the other two, please just introduce yourself.
Susan Arnold. I'm the regent of the Elizabeth Ludington Hagens, Colonel John Evans chapter. My address is 1283 Kings Road, Morgantown, West Virginia, 26508.
Okay.
And I'm Jane Lark. I am treasurer of Woodburn chapter. It's 108 Kennedy Store Road, Morgantown, 26508.
Okay.
All right. Proclamation. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in the republic dedicated to the rule by law, and whereas September 17th, 2018 marks the 231st anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to the magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it, and whereas the Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of the proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 16th through the 22nd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Monongalia County Commission, by virtue of the authority vested in us, do hereby proclaim the week of September 16th through the 22nd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framing of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardian of our liberties.
Do I have a motion first, then we'll get this? Okay.
Move to approve?
Second.
Properly moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did anyone want to say something? You're more than welcome to.
You all want to sign it?
Yes, we will sign if you send it up here, and then we will make a copy immediately.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll have Colleen, we'll make copy. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Presentation by Mr. Dave Bruffy, CEO, Mountain Line Transit Authority, regarding the transportation to emergency warming cooling shelter and a little bit more. Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else here?
Kelly Leneve is here. She's our mobility coordinator.
Okay, just want to say, okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, and I also appreciate the initiative that the folks from Caritas House, I can't think of his name at the moment, Tom.
Justin Psycho.
Justin, yes.
Yeah.
That Justin started, he was thinking ahead about cold weather so that we could begin to put together a plan to take up the slack that was created from the loss of ITAC. When In Touch and Concerned worked with them, they would actually just, I think by phone call, go pick up overflow of persons from Bartlett House when the weather was below 34 degrees and transport them to Caritas House as a warming center. According to Caritas folks, last year there were 73 days that the warming center was open, that the temperature went below 34, and they had an overflow from Bartlett House. So what we did was look at the Mountain Line schedule and determine that there was a bus route that finished at about 8 o'clock, 8:15, that we could just automatically send over to Bartlett House when the temperature was below 34 degrees and transport those folks up to Caritas House. The cost for an extra hour service like that will be about $92 each occurrence, and we can just simply do a billing for that. But in addition, the United Way has identified some emergency funding assistance, so hopefully we'll be able to apply for funding to cover the cost annually. That would be somewhere in the range of $6,500 to $7,500. But there are also some other costs dealing with the shelter and some other community needs for homeless, and so we're anticipating looking at a grant application of in the neighborhood of $35,000 to cover a variety of issues. And at this point, that part looks okay. We have a little bit of issue to work out on Sundays. If there's a need for that service on a Saturday evening, our service is a little bit limited on Sunday morning, but I think we can work that out as well. That was just one of the 4 issues that was really created, or 5 issues, I guess, that was created when we lost ITAC. And if anyone
Before I
has
say that, does anyone have any questions on that part, the emergency part? No. And I want to say Dave really stepped up, and since he's the guru of the transportation, we went directly to him to find out what we could do. And if you could stay up here, because what also happened, and again, was it Kelly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Kelly was at the meeting. I feel that this would be a perfect time to just add the second part of it, because you mentioned several of the problems within touch and concern. I handed you a sheet of paper that basically explains what happened yesterday. We had over 40 individuals meet. And again, Dave, feel free to interject anything if I get it incorrect. Transportation agreement for Medicaid, Medicare, and then just regular insurance. There's all these different non-emergency needs. So what we came up with is, as you see, that the visiting homemakers has agreed in principle they have to get their board to propose to approve it. They would be the nonprofit that oversees it, and we'll explain why you need the nonprofit in a second. Easy Transport, that is the only group up here that is accepted by Logisticare, which is the company that supposedly, what is a Logisticare's official?
Well,
They were MTM and someone bought it.
Right. About 5 years ago,
Okay.
the state of West Virginia decided that they would broker their non-emergency medical transportation. So they went out to bid, and they engaged a company, MTM, that was the first company, in a multi-million-dollar, it was a $100 million contract to provide this service throughout the state. At that point, they had a number of regulations, so your vehicles have to be inspected, background checks on your drivers, a particular billing practice that you have to engage in, and they set the rates. You can negotiate those, but basically, because they're the only game in town, the negotiation's kind of limited. They lost the contract this past year to Logisticare. Logisticare is the new provider. So the way the brokerage works is these folks were the call center, the appointment makers, and then there would be local service providers like In Touch and Concerned. A lot of the smaller transit agencies also provide the brokerage service, and they get reimbursed a per mile fund for trips that they offer to eligible non-emergency medical transportation clients. So there is funding in place at the state. There is a brokerage who is responsible and being paid to provide trips to many of the PACE clients, many of the patients that go to dialysis, many of the people that ITAC was actually transporting and being paid by Logisticare. Now, Logisticare is limited in the number of service providers that they have, although they're still being paid for the full price. So you can imagine their incentive to find someone new really quickly. That's part of the problem, I think. And that's why in my correspondence with everyone, I've encouraged that this issue be raised vigorously with the state. They're already paying for this service, and it doesn't make sense for us to buy the same service here that the state's already paying for. There are some other gaps, though, that aren't covered by non-emergency medical transportation. There were some PACE clients that weren't covered. I think PACE has come up with a solution for those folks
Right now.
short term.
The short term. And I think everything, and the difference is with the emergency, we have a plan. We're very comfortable with it. This one is a short-term plan where what I'm going to request on the next agenda is the money that we were going to spend for the emergency for the funding for the shelter transportation, if we would put it in another fund, which would be $6,000, the city of Morgantown will be has given their verbal agreement. They are going to vote on it on Tuesday. Another $4,000, which would be $10,000. The catch is if you're a non-emergency, and we can go, a non-profit, you can go through them, and there's no cost for the vans through a grant and so on. But because Easy Transport is not a non-profit, they are paying roughly $2,000 per van. So that $10,000 would help offset for the next 2 months, roughly till the end of October 31st. And now maybe more, just to give you an idea, again, Dave says he has some possibilities that Easy Transit can go through him at a lower price to get the same cost. So we're going to look into it.
Yeah, there's a national agreement with Enterprise through Community Transportation Association of America, so we may be able to come up with a better
So that
rate.
$10,000 might be able to be extended longer. So what we're doing is Easy Transport will be doing the scheduling, dispatching, the contract bidding, payroll, and more. Basically, visiting homemakers will be the pass-through for the program, but this is what we have to do. In the interim, PACE has said they're going to reach out. We asked them to reach out to the school system. It's another option we're looking at to see if maybe the school system could pick up some of the 25 students maybe on their route.
Yeah, I think they were limited to PACE individuals, right?
Okay, yes. So they would just do the PACE individuals, but if that's 20 people less, then, and as I said, it's 250 transports a day. I thought it was a week or a month. So we're talking 250 a day, which I think the people need to understand. Also, WVU Medicine, Mon Health, the Shack, Senior Mons, and Women's Service League attended, and they were offering their services. But I do want to do a shout out to Mr. John Hitchens, the Star City Ambulance Group. He saw what was going on, and I want to thank him. He said, look, I know there are certain people that his Dave's buses can't take some of the ambulatory care for the kidney dialysis. He has offered to do it and then worry about the cost and financial or not at all later. So everyone in this community has stepped up. This is what, I'm hoping, again, with your permission, to put on the agenda the $6,000. And that money would come from the In Touch and Concern money that we didn't give to In Touch and Concern because they're not there. So we're not dipping into any other line item. The problem is there's so many different things going on. We do have one other thing, and in fact, I've asked Kelly Palmer and her social group to possibly to work with visiting homemakers. They have what's called reassurance phone calls, and we learned they do about 80 phone calls a week. And where it is someone calls someone who's a shut-in just to make sure they're okay or all right. And visiting homemakers said they would oversee it, but maybe if we could have some community groups. And I asked Kelly as a possibility, and I think this is the kind, and the Women's League, this is the kind of things, and it's a community. It's just really neat. This was all done in 18 hours, and I can't say enough to United Way and Dave Bruffy for going. Oh, one other thing, I apologize. In the interim, we lost the 5 vans. The way the contract is, and Dave will explain, once we stop the service, it goes back and then they're divvied out to other places. Senator Bob Beach and Delegate John Williams are down working on trying to get some of those vans back. And that's what we're working on too. We're hoping we can get those vans back before the time is up with that $10,000. That's what our goal is, to do an interim and then do a more permanent solution. If you want to add anything about that.
Well, the vehicles are actually purchased through a grant by the Division of Public Transit, and that's a DOH division, or DOT division. So That's a grant application. You have to be a qualifying entity. They do that cycle every year. In order to be qualified to apply for those funds, you have to be a part of the regional transportation plan. And some of the agencies that are involved in trying to find a solution for our immediate needs weren't a part of that plan when it was done 8 years ago. So the plan is going to be fired up again. I think we're going to have a meeting in October. But that's still going to be a year-long process. And then anyone who participates in that, or a lot of the people who participate in that, would be eligible for a particular funding stream that provides accessible vehicles. So long-term, there is a process and a procedure that we can, prop this back up again. The real problem is short-term. There are a group of people, and I did get a list yesterday of people in the county who used In Touch and Concerned and paid full price. So they didn't have any kind of insurance. They didn't have non-emergency medical or Medicaid transportation. They were paying to go to the doctor a couple times a year, and we found some of them that are in wheelchair. The real problem is that there are no wheelchair-accessible vehicles operated by anyone under that program or anybody at this point. I was also contacted by the folks out of Wheeling, April Winnemeyer, and they have it's called Right at Home, which I think is like a visiting homemakers.
Right.
They provide transportation service. They serve this area. They also said that they would agree to help, but they don't have accessible vehicles either.
Right.
So that's the real problem for us. And then we had a few people that were making trips, for instance, to the VA.
Yeah, this one does.
Yeah, and there was a gentleman. He's in his 90s, I think, and he can use public transportation or he can use the VA van and bus service, but it's going to take him all day to go down there and back for a doctor's appointment, 10 or 12 hours. And In Touch and Concerned was probably either making one leg of the trip or maybe both, and he was paying them to do that. So there's a group of people out there that they may have the ability to pay, but there's no one to pay. So that's another gap that we've got to try and fill.
And one of the suggestions out of the committee was to go contact our current delegates to put the pressure on Logistic Care, because if they're getting this contract and for the money for it, they need to help us provide the services. So that's what we're working on right now, and that's hopefully what's going to happen. Also, just for clarification, I didn't realize In Touch and Concern was not the only group that stopped providing transportation. Morgantown Taxi was doing it, and somebody's limousine service out of Clarksburg.
No, Grafton.
Out of Grafton. DNL. So this was two more groups. So actually, it was three groups that stopped all this immediately. And also, Logistic Care took over September 1st. It used to be another group. So there's a lot of turmoil going on. And I really want to thank Kelly trying to explain these things to us and her concern. And she stated to us just what you said. It's the wheelchair part that we have to get a handle on.
Yeah.
Now, we have had several groups such as Scott's Run has 3 vans. Now, we don't know if they... Shack. So, the Shack has... See, Renetta was there, too. That's why I had to... We have 3 vans. We want to see if they can be used. Then we have to look about rider insurance, but also Logistic Care has to come up and approve them. So we're trying to reach out with all different avenues, and we're more than willing, but I can't say enough. In 18 hours, we put a no plan and have some sort of a temporary plan in place to help these individuals. So I don't know if you have any other questions or...
No, I thank you guys for all the work you've done. It's impressive you pulled this together. Again, I don't know why I'm amazed at the generosity and all the entities that are in the area that are willing to pitch in and help out. That goes to our conversation we've had during budget time, that we don't know what we don't know. Like, we don't totally know what all these different agencies do and how they interact or how they could interact. So again, I'd like us to keep considering having some sort of summit where we bring these people together and we kind of get a better handle over all the care that's provided in our area.
Well, and on that point, I'd just thank Commissioner Bloom for his leadership and the commission for following through on this, because it does take that kind of overarching community leadership to bring everybody together. That's what's happened.
And there really is no group technically in the county that oversees this.
No.
And that's one of the problems. And that's where the confusion is. But again, and I'm going to ask Dave, once we set this in motion, there's going to be a group of us that's kind of just going to monitor it. We're not going. It's more of an advisory group to make sure we don't have this problem again, because we did not realize we can't get in this position again. And hopefully we'll all work together on that. And I want to give kudos to City Council. They were there. They've offered some funds, so I believe they'll come through on Tuesday.
The only thing I would ask
Yes.
is, and because this is going to be public, is if you know of folks that need a ride and don't have that ride, give us a call at 304-296-3680 and ask for Kelly Leneve. Kelly's here today. She's our mobility coordinator, and she's the one that's kind of marshaling all this information and effort for us at Mountain Line. So again, 304-296-3680.
Okay.
I do have one question. Does this end at the county border, or does this go beyond our border?
Yeah, I think that depends on which segment of it you're talking about.
Okay.
If you're talking about non-emergency medical transportation, it's based on the physician, the medical need. It might go beyond the county. It might go several counties.
I don't mean transport out, but I mean the availability for care.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, is this a Monongalia County issue? Is this a regional issue?
At the moment, it's primarily a Monongalia County issue, but there are other counties like Taylor County that has no public transportation whatsoever. Wetzel County, same situation. So there is a larger statewide need. There are actually 23 counties in the state of West Virginia that have no public transportation. And, that's an issue that really needs to be addressed.
So perhaps
at the state
our
level.
efforts here could lead some other counties to.
Yeah. I think that's part of that regional coordinating plan that
Right.
the state's going to spearhead. So that's the effort that'll be coming up in the next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, really do
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Kelly?
Okay. Do we have correspondence? Letter received from Greg Cox, President of the National Association of Counties, appointing Commissioner Bloom as a member of the Healthy Counties Initiative Advisory Board. If you want to just skim, I don't want to read the whole thing, but just a couple of the first paragraphs.
Committee participation at the national level is a serious commitment and responsibility. We must continue working with government, nonprofit, industry leaders to highlight the importance of local government. It would be his actual initiative, connecting the unconnected counties, linking residents to services. Serving the underserved, that was a lot of the theme at the NACO annual conference.
Right.
And then there'll be meetings. It says that NACO staff liaison will follow up on future meeting dates and what they're currently working on. That's about it.
Yes, I'm very excited, and I think our ideas and programs that are coming out of Monongalia County are getting nationally recognized. And I can tell you, we got put on the national picture during the teacher strike and the Pantry Plus More program started some programs, and then that kicked things in nationally. And I can't say enough, and I want to give credit to Christine Wang and Rourke Sizemore, because between the three of us, we're spearheading this, and I couldn't have done it without them. So I'm very excited about this, and hopefully this could also bring some grants and funds for our area, which is what I'm also hoping for.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Any other correspondence?
No.
Any unfinished business?
No, sir.
Okay, moving to new business. To consider for approval a revised requisition number 10 for University Town Center EODD Special District Excise Tax Revenue Refunding Improvement Bond Series for 2017 Administrative Expense Fund.
Last week, you approved requisition number 10 and a requisition number 1. The 10 was for the A bonds, and the 1 was for the B bonds. Well, when I sent those into West Banco to be processed, they advised me that there's only one administrative fund set up for both series of bonds. So in order to to correct everything. We're just doing a revised number 10 to combine the two. And then we also received another invoice from Unicap for the month of June. So we're adding that to this so we can do it all in one shot. $7,087.50. And that will be for for June and August expenditures.
Move for approval?
Second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consider approval for requisition number 8 for the Morgantown Industrial Park Series 2017A Phase 2 Project Fund.
And this is for $20,000 to be paid to Adrian Enterprises for project management.
Move for approval?
Second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
To consider request made by Sheriff Perry Palmer to transfer ownership of the K-9 Boomer from the County Commission back to its handler, Andrew Pintus. And that is just,
Self-explanatory.
yeah, that's self-explanatory, that he would get the dog.
Move to approve.
Second?
Properly moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes. Consideration to approve a lease agreement for property purchased by the County Commission through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program on October 26, 1998, described as Cass District, Map 1, Parcel 0024, to the adjoining property owner, Mary Jane Coulter. That's it. She came in and requested,
Yeah, she's been cutting the grass on that piece
So
of
she
property adjacent to hers for years.
Right.
And we're currently leasing other parcels down there that were purchased around the same time through the same program. Those properties had been flooded multiple times, and so the commission purchased those years ago from those property owners under the FEMA, under FEMA. So they're not to be built on. The people that are leasing those properties 1 year at a time are just cutting the grass, just keeping them mowed. So it's a $1 for the term from today to the end of June 2019, and then if she wants to renew, she'll have to renew next July.
Move to approve.
Second with discussion.
sure, go ahead.
And also to note in this lease, which it's a good thing we have in there as a further protection, is that they're required to have insurance on the piece of
Yes.
property. So it actually gives the county a little bit more protection.
Okay. Properly moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consideration approval draft of the letter to the West Virginia State Tax Commission renewing the commission's request for a list of businesses reporting wine and liquor sales in Mon County. If I have a motion and second, so we have
Move to
discussion.
Second?
Okay, it's been properly moved and second. Discussion, I'll first ask Sean if he wants to say anything, because Sean added a very important part of the end of this letter, which I thought was key because of the change on the January 1st deadline. So if you want to just talk about what you've done.
Yeah, and the question I have is this law, in regards to the 1 mile rule, goes into effect January 1. At that time, they have to apportion liquor tax to the entity on which where the business is located. If you go to the AAB's website, the application is still out there with the proximity rule, where it's still going to take into consideration if you live within a mile of a city, it's going to give it to a city. So I asked a simple question: how's the ABC, how's the state tax department going to start the process of basically recertifying all the businesses as to what their location is? I asked the auditor. He said, "Good question. He'll check directly with the ABC." But he asked if I go and we CC'd him on this letter. He goes, "Joe Statler's your man." He goes, "Ask Joe. Joe will get you an answer, or at least start asking the question," because it's apparent to us that there's no plan for how they're going to deal with adhering to the law in going forward. So we've asked them that question. How are you going to enforce this? So maybe it'll be a wake-up call for them that, oh, geez, we got to make changes. We don't want those decisions being made by a bureaucrat in Charleston. I would think that we need the individual businesses to recertify where they're located.
Exactly.
So, and that would be a pretty large process. So we're only a couple months out from the beginning of the year, so I think that our letter will be helpful in at least making them aware of this so they start their process.
And also in the letter, you offered our assistance on the local level to make any transition, so help clarify. And we're more than willing to help any county or any other county who is interested in finding out this information. So I really appreciate it. I'm very excited that we're sending this letter. Any other comments?
No.
Okay, since it's been properly moved and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it passes. Great. Is there any other new business? Okay, any reports from elected officials? Oh, great, so, okay, good. How are you doing today, Kate? Great.
A couple of matters. We did apply for some HAVA funding a couple of weeks ago with the Secretary of State's office, and I did receive an email yesterday. The HAVA Grant Board met earlier in the week, and I believe that we have been tentatively approved for about $275,000 worth of funding. So that we're very pleased about that. In addition, about a month ago, I came before you to ask a request for you to approve our Democratic election officials for the upcoming election. The Republican Executive Committee has submitted their appointments to us. They did so as of Monday, and I just ask at this meeting for you a request for a motion to approve the Republican election officials for the November election.
Motion to approve the request as submitted to the clerk.
Second.
Properly moved and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that's great news about the application and receiving the funds. That is for security, isn't it, or
It's
some of it?
for a variety of
Variety.
things. We applied for several things, so I don't
Okay.
know exactly what issue that they approved, but that
Okay.
was the total amount.
Well, thank you. Any reports? Oh, no, there's seeing no other reports. Habit reports from county commissioners. Sean, you go first.
Last Friday, we had our conference call. Last Wednesday, we approved the new agreement with OpenGov. Last Friday, we had a conference call with them to see what the steps were going forward. They're going to schedule a kickoff within the next 2 weeks. And so then we're going to have an official kickoff meeting where we'll figure out who needs to do what, and they're working behind the scenes as far as getting the templates and stuff ready for the upload. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll have some good information regarding that project. Tuesday, I went to the Region 6 Broadband Access Study kickoff. It was held down in Fairmont. Our county administrator was there also, as well as our floodplain coordinator and our director of the planning, our planning office. So Mon County had a really good representation. What this is it's a kickoff for the study. They did a grant request to get money to do a study in regards to region-wide broadband. So this entity that they hired is a nationally renowned entity that has done this across the country, and they're going to come back, I believe, we'll probably have another meeting within a month, and they're going to give us a draft of their study, and then I think the whole thing process will take maybe about 3 months. But they're going to give us, what they've looked at in regards to the whole 6-county region and the opportunities for working together and having some region-wide broadband activities. This Thursday, I have a Development Authority meeting. Our Red Team meeting got pushed back till next Tuesday. Those usually happen on the same day, but that'll be next Tuesday. And I also, Joe Statler had called me regarding residents in Mon County that they're near the Valley Falls PSD, but they're not served by them. And they have issues. I guess they were just using well service from their farms. Okay. But there's some complaints about the quality of the water, and they're wanting to see if they can be incorporated into the Valley Falls PSD. So he wasn't sure what the whole process was, and he asked me, he wasn't sure if we have any involvement, but he asked me to attend a meeting with that group on Thursday. Friday, I have lunch with Dr. Smith and the Board of Health President, Sam Chico, to talk about they're going to update me on the Smile Express And interestingly enough, Dr. Smith had been talking with somebody at the national level about a broadband grant, because as they travel, and they're going to offer their services in this region, but when they go to a school and offer their service, they need the ability to be able to shoot the x-rays back to the health department, and that's going to present some problems. So they're actually talking, Dr. Smith had been talking with an individual at the national level about some opportunities, so they want to update me on that and possibly maybe taking advantage of both of these broadband initiatives we have going on. The last thing, as we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting yesterday, was the anniversary of 9/11. I couldn't pull myself away from the TV last night, just watching all the specials and the events about it. And it you know, I lost a personal friend in 9/11. You know, and I think about him all the time, and I think about, you know, why some of the specials they had on the History Channel last night were again 17 years removed, but still have the same reaction you had back then. So. Prayers go out to all those families, and hopefully they never have to go through that again. That's all.
Thank you.
Well, I did attend the Farm Bureau picnic in a maelstrom on Sunday of rain. I thank you that it's not raining right now. Well, I might be misspeaking because it was raining when I went back out a minute ago. Tonight is Planning Commission meeting, so I'll be in attendance for that. There's a meeting scheduled now for tomorrow for the MPO personnel that I'll be attending. Friday, the Region 6 Workforce West Virginia meeting will be held at Pace, and I'll be there. And sometime next week, it's not scheduled yet, we will be doing the interview for the proposals of the three groups that have been selected to be interviewed for the subdivision regulation completions. Lastly, this weekend, of course, is the Wine and Jazz Festival at Camp Muffley, which I hope doesn't get the rain that we got this past weekend. We all know what happens when we have events that are planned a year in advance, and you know, like the fair, like the Mountain Fest, other events. So we do actually hope for good weather. Again, keeping in mind those that, you know, I always think of the individuals that were on that plane. You know, that touched me because a group of people had to take a course of action and had to decide what they were going to do, knowing the circumstance. And, you know, that to me is always a moment of poignancy. Thank you.
Thank you. Last night I was able to represent the County Commission on an update to the Scottish Rite Society from the Masons, and they wanted to know the state of the county, and it was received very well. I didn't even know they existed, but they had volunteered for a recycling program, so I offered to come whenever they needed a speaker, and so I was returning the favor. But they're a great group, and they're, you know, very interested in the future of Monongalia County. This Saturday, we do have the food giveaway again at the Morgantown ice skating rink, and as you had mentioned, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, a friend of mine, and those of you know Ron Justice's ex-wife, Sherry Austin, was a teacher at Brookhaven. She was a tragic accident where the tree fell on her house while she was sleeping, and it's just a horrible situation. And I just want to make sure our thoughts and prayers are out for the family, and we've said whatever we can do for them. I do appreciate it. And finally, again, I can't say enough about the county with all the residents in the county coming through for this ITAC, and hopefully we'll get this problem resolved.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Well, aye. We're done.